Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Courageous Conversations. Oh, it's a rainy day in Toronto. Man, I'm missing the sun. But that is just the way it goes. I'm going to do a little sharing before I go further. And I want to make sure that we can all join in on the journey. Okay, so there we go. Welcome. Okay, so I'm going to go to just share a little bit for everybody to be with us. Hi, Luke. Nice to see you. And I want to talk about rock bottoms and mountaintops that people may be on, because the truth of the matter is that there's learning to be had from both. And I recently had the occasion to work with some people who had been on some very major rock bottoms, but had come out the other side, and then decided to work with a therapist. But we're having some real challenges to understand some of the learning because the suffering was so profound. And so I'm just doing a little sharing. And if you want anyone to join us on the journey, please do share this on your groups and pages so that we can proliferate the good information as deeply and as widely as possible. Okay, here we go. So, welcome to Courageous Conversations, and everyone that's coming on. I just want to say hello, welcome. What a day in Toronto. I don't know if you're in Toronto, but I'm up here on the 20th floor. And I'm thinking, is this one of my rock bottoms? No, it isn't. But man, do I miss the sun. But take vitamin D. I'm doing lots of that. Some good Omega Joy, which is really good of an uplifter, like mood uplifter, and helps the brain. I've got something in my eye. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Rock bottoms, mountaintops. There is learning to be had in both, and people sometimes forget it and think, I want to avoid the rock bottom. I mean, as I said, I recently had the occasion to work with people, and I said to a couple of the people that I was working with that had hit a rock bottom and then sought out a psychotherapist after that, what was it that took them so long? Because they were all of them that came into my office were in their sort of latter 50s, and I thought, what took them so long? It'd been a road, a hard road. And says, well, they didn't want to hit the rock bottom because of the fear, of the pain of that experience of hitting a low, and the rock bottom for each person is really different. I have something in my eye. The joys of live and having something in your eye. Okay, here we go. I think I'll be okay. When people hit a low, they're avoiding that rock bottom. They're trying to coast before the rock bottom, because the rock bottom usually means, losing everything, losing people, places, money, jobs. It depends on what each person's rock bottom is. But the rock bottom can be such an amazing learning experience for people that can transform everything from that day forward. And I want to make sure that anyone who's looking at anyone who is in their life that is hitting a rock bottom, or they themselves are headed toward the rock bottom or come out of the rock bottom, the main thing is to realize that the learning and the growing upon hitting that really, really deep low can be amazing. The first thing you can learn is how much grit you have, how much resiliency you have as a person. That is huge, because a lot of people think, I'm too weak. I can't handle no, you can, actually. You can, and that's what you're learning, how much you can handle. And the other thing that a rock bottom will teach you is the massive appreciation for stability. Often when there is such dark depths, there's a loss of stability. And usually the person who's possibly an addict, a recovering addict, or something like that, is throwing away stability and normalizing chaos. I did a really popular video on normalizing chaos, and the normalization of chaos will prevent the massive learning from a rock bottom. And the rock bottom is where I feel that the real appreciation for chaos, rather for stability, and for the appreciation for those in their life. And the other thing a rock bottom is going to really, really teach you is your knowledge that you have tremendous spirit of adventure. Like there's, I have wonderful mentors and friends that have come out of recovery 20 years ago. And I said, what did you learn from such low lows? He says, well, I learned that I'm this person. This person was telling me, I learned that I'm this person that really, has a spirit of adventure. And, but that doesn't negate my need for stability. So you can have your spirit of adventure without, negating a desire for stability. Rock bottoms are probably by far one of the most painful, potentially destroying. It's a gamble, right? Because by the time you're hitting rock bottom, are you in fact going to turn it around? And that's the other thing. It's the grit that I spoke about earlier. Can you get to that place and then turn it around? And then really realize that you can navigate that low aspect of yourself and then come out the other side. Because once you're hitting toward that rock bottom, you're in a place of almost like, everything's off but the parachute kind of thing. It's like, it's survival mode. And the nervous system is kind of in almost in tatters by the time that rock bottom is hitting. So what people need to get is that upon hitting that rock bottom, whether it's addiction rock bottom or relationship rock bottom, I was working with a couple people who had hit their relationship rock bottoms, and I said, what was the rock bottom for you? And they had ended up in my office and said, well, when we nearly started to hit each other, to actually beat on each other. And that was there, that we are, I think one of them had totally pushed the other, and then someone had thrown like a glass, and nobody thankfully got hurt, but for them that was like, oh man, shit, we are at that rock bottom of this relationship, or a rock bottom in a job. And what did they learn? Well, they learned that they didn't want to live that way, in that violent way. They learned that they needed to really get in there and work with a therapist, namely me at this point, to really change the dynamic. And I did say, listen, once you hit the levels of physical violence, you're almost too late into therapy, But there was a deep willingness. That's the other thing you'll learn about rock bottoms, is to have profound willingness to, you're much more teachable when you're desperate and at the rock bottom. You're much more, nothing to lose kind of energy. So you're like, well, might as well start learning something. And in the case of the couple that was, physically violent with one another, that had brought them to, is they discovered how much they really loved each other, actually. And so that was another thing, is you start to see what matters. You start to see who matters. You start to see, the things in life that you just were taking for granted. It's like you start to see what the actually mattering part and what's valuable. And this couple, because of their rock bottom, and only because of their rock bottom, did they see how much they actually loved one another. And what they were fighting, how they were fighting, was so about their own, like the wake-up calls that they needed, the massive wake-up calls that they needed about the lifestyle that they individually were living, which was way too stressful, way too destructive, and extremely oriented towards self. So that's not self-culture, that's selfishness, where they didn't give a crap about each other. But then when they got to that moment of like, that violence, that rock bottom in the relationship, they realized, okay, whoa, this can't continue. And they've been really, really quite teachable clients, and I've been pleased to be able to work with them, each individually having to also do the work individually, not just the couples therapy. But the other thing that I wanted to say about a rock bottom is that you have your own personal version of a rock bottom. For one couple, it's that. For another person, it's losing everything. Have you ever met someone who lost everything? I have. And it's, wow, the amount of loss. I had a beautiful person that I knew many years ago. And my husband and I met him on a trip down in Costa Rica. And this gentleman was someone that had prided himself in having lost everything and then gained it back, and then lost everything and then gained it back twice. And we met him on the gained it back second go round. And I said, well, what did losing everything? Well, he was a heroin addict. And I thought, oh my God. Because he didn't look like a heroin addict when we were hanging out in Costa Rica. He looked like just a cool dude, but he had lost everything, millions. So he said. He was in the shoe business, I believe, and then had come round, and he says, I need to feel hunger. I need to feel a hunger to succeed again. And that was his learning about himself. Now, I remember thinking, he's better watch that need for hunger, because he's got 2 rock bottoms he's hit. He's hit those 2 extreme lows. And then we made contact with him sort of about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or 7 or 8 years ago. And apparently he'd come out of a 3rd rock bottom. And I thought, man, what is this person really about? But what I realized is that he needed to feel alive, that the rock bottoms helped him to finally appreciate feeling alive in life. And I find that rock bottoms, they wake people up. It's the universe sort of waking you up and going, listen to me. Listen to me. You are alive. You're a human being. And I feel like sometimes people get so in the wake up, go to work, go to sleep, or, rinse, repeat, get this repetitive robotic life. And sometimes the massive amounts of rock bottom experiencing can wake them up. Now, I don't recommend a lot of rock bottoming, because I think that, avoid massive destruction of your life. But if you're going to go and destroy your life, and or even just have a destructive experience in your life in which you're hitting that rock bottom, for goodness sake, learn from it. Learn about your grit. Learn about your appreciation for stability. Learn about what really matters to you and what you value. These are all the things that rock bottoms can teach you. Learn about the value of a routine, because you've lost a routine, you need to create a routine. Learn about that. Learn about your own value. Learn that, when your nose hits the grindstone and when your nose hits the bottom, do you matter? Are you going to feel like you are worth something to pull your butt out of that and then ask for help? That's the kind of thing that I really, really want to ask you. Number 2, let's go to the from the rock bottom to the mountaintop of your life. And a lot of people are striving for the mountaintop and getting to the top and I've got someone in the background here, getting to the top. And what does that actually, when you get there, sometimes it's just not what it appears to be. So we were watching a show which really exemplified this. What was it called? Oh, it was Jim Carrey's production called I'm Dying Up Here. It's about comics in LA trying to get on the Tonight Show, and they're all sort of doing comedy clubs in the 70s. And Tara says rock bottom is an opportunity to do different. Yes, absolutely. I agree with you, Tara. So this show about comics called I'm Dying Up Here, really kind of a good show, but whether you watch or not, watch the first episode. Spoiler alert, I'm about to spoil the episode right for you. But this was a comic who hit the jackpot. He'd been working it, and he hits the jackpot, and he gets on the Tonight Show. He gets on the Tonight Show. Johnny Carson, for those of you that are young, my apologies, Johnny Carson is like today's guys from David Letterman type guys. Johnny Carson, he was amazing in the 70s. Anyway, 70s and 80s. He was the guy, the late night talk show host. Anyway, so he gets on the Tonight Show. And the big thing is Johnny Carson going to bring him over to the couch and have an interview with him after he's done his stand-up? So, yes! He gets called over to the couch and he gets interviewed by Johnny Carson. He has the most amazing experience. It's game changer. He gets off there. He knows at that moment his agent is going to go crazy with calls. People, it's like a video hitting viral today. My friend Gina Hatzi's, her video has hit viral. She's had so many opportunities. She's at the top, the people at the top, this guy at the top. But he walks out of the studio of The Tonight Show and goes on a walk, and it's a really brilliant, I love cinematography. It's panning him walking. He lights a cigarette and he's walking in LA after his big moment, his big top of the mountaintop moment. And what does he do? He steps off the curb and kills himself. I'm like, really? You hit the top, you hit the mountaintop. So for what I guess I'm trying to say is, and I've had some clients who get depressed after they hit their culmination, after they've hit their big everything, make the big money, do the big thing, get the right relationship, hit their goal, hit the top of the top. And I gotta say, the thing about that to really learn is that the top, if you're gonna hit it, and you can have various little different mountaintops and sometimes really big mountaintops. I work with someone who made a lot of money last year, who not just made a lot of money, but hit literally a jackpot of money into the millions and millions and millions. But depression ends up in my office. So what's that about? It's that sometimes when you hit that, as my friend said, the hunger can go, the purpose can go. And so you've got to make sure that when you're hitting those top levels, that you sit and enjoy it, but not just enjoy it, appreciate it. You need to appreciate it. You need to, Tara says, be prepared for it. But how do you prepare for it? What is prepared for? I believe prepared for it means that you're in the moment at all times, that each moment is precious and valuable and amazing. Each second, each journey, getting in the present moment is what will prevent you from having a massive depression after you hit that mountaintop. And every one of us who's on a journey is at the mercy, potentially, of feeling depressive after you hit your culmination. Because there's something about the struggle. There's something about, as my friend said, the hunger. The hunger of the struggle, of the going toward it. So I want to make sure that it's not just the ego, leading the journey. It's not just the ego leading the journey. Is there some soul piece of you that's perceiving the journey? And Rena says, rock bottom led me to a coaching session where I opened myself up to a forgiveness letter to my very dangerous ex after years of no contact. And the coach unfortunately lacked a true understanding of sociopathy. That's interesting. Okay, so she was desperate. Rena says it's vital to work with an educated professional such as yourself, Victoria. Thank you so much for that. But what I mean to say is that, work with people that can actually appreciate what's really going on. But you yourself, each individual needs to look at, who's leading the journey. Is it the ego and the personality leading the journey toward the top? And if that's the ego, then I promise you, if it's the ego, what's going to really happen is once you get there, it'll be like, what else? What else is there? Next, really not enjoying the process at all. So watch that. Be aware of that. Become a spiritual person. And I'm not talking religious. Believe me, I'm not talking religious. I'm talking about understanding there's something more than just this experience here. There's something more than just this egoic personality, striving. Okay? There's something else, whether it's the rock bottom or the mountaintop. Understand that there's lessening. And the lessening at the mountaintop is appreciation of the moment. To me, that's valuable lessening. Also, true appreciation of the self. Self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance. Kudos, celebrate. All of those things. So that you don't experience a slump after you've hit the top. And don't make hunger your main currency. The hunger for the thriving of the top. Don't make that your main currency. Make the process the currency that you thrive on. The process. And enjoy the process, because who's experienced sudden deaths with people? I've had a couple this year, which were it was like, wow. And even just when stars die too soon, I'm telling you, those make us remember, it's not about hitting the top and the pinnacle. It's about the journey. And if you're going to go down to rock bottom, I mean, I would like you to prevent a rock bottom. I really don't feel like we need to experience these extremes to grow. I really don't. But if you're going to do those things, make sure that you're at the very least, learning the lessons of the rock bottom and of the mountaintop. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And I'm really appreciating everyone who's engaging here. I want everyone to try to do it. Really work on the right here, the right now, the moment, the presence. If you get into the present moment, that's I believe, the elixir for these types of egoic journeys. The present moment relishing, the celebrating of the here and the now and the moment that is here and now. I guess that's what I'm saying. But if you're going to hit those high highs or those low lows, make sure you're learning. And this video talks about that learning. All right. Blessings to you, wonderful people. Tomorrow I'm going to come at you with another courageous conversation. Keep having courageous conversations with yourself, please. Don't BS yourself and with others. All right? Blessings. And share the video because I think lots of people can appreciate it and learn from this. Mwah. Take care.